Ginny here, joined with Striker from BDS. We're currently 10 minutes into their first game against Fnatic. I would love to hear about the adaptations and draft coming into this game up against Fnatic. We're seeing the Garen here. Could you maybe give us a little bit more insight into that?
Yeah, I mean, Garen was a pick that we trained for a long time, actually. We were looking for answers into Xante, and that's something that we used to play last year with Adam, right?
Yeah.
So we thought the same game, the same champion. Joel is also talented, so why not give it a try? And it looked good, so we just went for it.
And you guys actually are capitalizing off of that because you're currently ahead into the game. From the coach's perspective, when you're sitting here looking at the game, seeing that your players are doing well, what is the main philosophy behind staying ahead in the game and not losing the lead?
I think it's about reminding it of the right timers in game. We have a system for each moment of the game where we need to remind on which way we want to play, right? And I think that's the most important. Trying to keep the flow of the game when you're ahead and to break it when you're behind. I would say so, yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
Striker had a plan. It did not go as expected here. I guess they wanted to channel Adam vibes, but I don't feel like Irrelevant plays Garen the same way Adam would, unlocking the same kind of opportunities here for his team. Finn, what do you think?
I'm gonna be honest. Garen is a simple champion. Okay, we all agree on that.
Yeah.
But executing on a champion like Garen in a competitive environment where there's a lot of peel back, a lot of like long-range comp like Fnatic had, that is not a simple task. It requires a lot of finesse and a lot of experience on the champion. And something that I noticed, I think maybe Irrelevant is lacking, because I feel like he was not actually finding these side angles that you need. Because when you play Garen against a comp that outskills you, you can't go from the front.
Yeah.
You can't go from the side, you have to come from behind. You have to go all the way around.
You're scaring me a bit. Okay.
I too could use hand movements with the
because you need to
flanks.
really find these creative angles to create space for your team to work for, because you're not a tank in the normal sense. You don't have a lot of CC, but you are tanky, you're annoying. You're like a little mosquito peeking your face in from the sides. And that's what Adam is really good at doing. And it's something I didn't see from Irrelevant.
And of course, that's exacerbated by the fact there are, 4 long-range champions. The Rakan's a little bit weird in that too. So you cannot just go down the front and center. And this is something that we have criticized a little bit from BDS is in terms of recognizing the overall composition win conditions. I think the Garen's part of that. You can say that I think the same for the Aurora, which I think into the late game, the team fights got worse and worse. And the team fight together, you could see that the angles weren't coming together.
I hear you guys, but is it really what it came down to? Because let me tell you a tale about a greatly executed early game. Finn.
Story time.
113, 113 on Scanner.
113! My man really took over that early game. It was crazy. He actually found Razork in the early game, forcing his flash, which led up into the solo kill you see here. And I really thought BDS had this game in the bag, because they were doing such a good job early game, controlling this game, getting these picks onto upset, onto Razork. But as we saw in the later game, I think the same story as yesterday, they got a little bit too excited. It is all about this patience, this respect for your enemy. This is Fnatic, this is not an ERL team. They will punish you if you make a mistake.
Which they did.
Which they did, a lot of the time.
And I think Fnatic fell asleep a little bit at the wheel in the early game because only Skarner can do some of the things in these team fights. It's like you have a super Rek'Sai E on your E, you're a godly tank, you can do a ton of damage while remaining that tank as well. And that's what really whirled the early game. But of course that doesn't last for forever, and eventually the damage got really high for Fnatic. And I think the front line play from BDS got really quite desynchronized at some later points. Of course, at this point too, this is why it's so heartbreaking, right? Because they were so good in this mid game and early game, but they couldn't see it through after that frontline play started to fall apart.
Game after game after game after game. Sadly, it's always the same tale for BDS. Although on the other side of the rift, I'm happy to see Fnatic winning. I don't feel like they're back the way we've been used to watching them play in regular season, though. That was a bit messy, even though Humanoid was like, everything is in control, we had this one. Did you really? Did you?
No, for the grand majority of the game, they were not in control. And that's something that Fnatic have to be very worried about. Now, there were some good things. We're not going to sit here and say, oh, they won the game, let's criticize them a lot. I thought they were really decisive about finding picks onto isolated members. There were multiple points where they managed to catch out a frontline member and use their composition to burn someone down. That's good. I love the opportunism. But the rest of the game, it had to come down to that. They had to scrap these kills back.
Let's look at Oscarinin's tweet that we showed earlier today, Finn. From what they were sad about and disappointed about last week. Of course, there's no war week here, so they cannot end the game. But when it comes to the rest, especially one went wrong in the objective setups, I feel like this is where we saw them shine today.
Yeah, I think they had some really creative objective setups, but a lot of it also came from the back of BDS being impatient. But I want to say Oscarinin, as we see on the screen here, he had a massive aura this game one. I think the fact that he was able to step up and take so much space of the river, knowing the enemies can't go on him, give a lot of space for the damage dealers in the Corki, in the Zyra, in the Saya, to actually hit the enemy front line. Because I felt like whenever the back line of Fnatic was hitting the front line of BDS, they were just getting shredded like a tomato made to be a soup. It was just so quick and easy, and I feel like there was just no sustenance. There was no structure in the front line of BDS, and I need to see more patience. And especially, I think Parus, the angles he went for this game, he needs to get more on the same page as 113, because we saw that hook where he hooked out of the Skarner ult. A lot of oopsies, I would say.
I want to take a look at BDS's trajectory over the years, if we can play this one. I don't know if we have it. Do we have that graphic? I'm going to tell you the tale of a team who was dead last in the ADC, into rising and finishing top 3, top 2, making it to finals, getting river swept, but never actually making it through. Here, I feel like it would be, it would be their worst results in years. There was a lot of promise around this roster. You guys are mentioning Parus, one of the best prospects we had in ERL. Their winter could stop here. Is there an easy fix to at least make it one step further, given what we've seen from them?
There is no easy fix, no, because this is something which seems like it is a team-wide understanding thing. We've seen a couple of compositions where BDS understand how to win the game, but they have the triple poke options. When they've shown some tank jungler stuff, they've looked a little better, but even then, yesterday, it was a heavily labored series against a struggling Vitality. They need to get on the same page, and they've got to do it so quick now. It's so difficult to do that against Fnatic. That should have been the game win. They'll be heartbroken they lost that.
Yeah, and I second it. Like, it is never going to be an easy fix against a team like Fnatic. This is still one of our top teams in the league, and this is a huge mountain they need to climb, because Fnatic, they have the talent, they have the experience, and they have the deep knowledge of how to win games, even if they're not having the best early games. And you can't say the same for BDS. I feel like even if they have good early games, we can't really trust them to finish that out. So we need to see them maybe get a bit more creative in draft and find something that they know work. Even if it's just going to be a poke comp, I want to see them play to their strengths.
All right. A bit more about the compositions. Maybe BDS being on blue side here again. Fearless draft. A lot of champions taking off the board here. We've talked about early game. I don't feel like it limits to agency in the early game, especially when it comes to BDS. So what would be the tools that you want to see, especially in the first rotations, in the first 2 rotations, blue side?
Well, you can't play the same kind of early game jungle pathing exactly like that, because I said Skarner is unique in the way that you scale with the terrain and you play throughout the early damage and the tankiness. I think we're probably not going to be able to see the Nidalee. The Zyra's already gone, so that's probably just going to be banned, the Nidalee on the other side of it. I think what we probably need to see is 113 with another early game agency pick, but with something that's following him a little bit closer. I want to see maybe if Parus can link up a little bit closer with him to make those same kind of powerful plays.
One last year for 113 maybe here.
Give me the Viego, baby.
Give him the Viego, baby. We'll see if BDS can make it. They almost won the first game. Will the next one be the last, or are they going to be able to tie the series to the last chance and move on to the bracket? Casters, take it away.
I want BDS to send it. I want BDS to send it. I want BDS to send it into the dark. I want the Viego that Finn talked about. I want BDS to be a little bit faster to play like they were in the first
my boss, Hysterics, whatever you need.
Pick up my jacket, Dagda.
I'm sorry.
Pick it up.
Sorry.
It fell on the ground. It should never happen. Thank you. All right, game 2. Now, Fearless brings you into a new sensation. That sensation is newer League of Legends, newer champions you don't always see, compositions you don't always get.
A whole new world.
A whole new world, a whole new... What's the rest of the song?
Yeah, I have no idea. I went to launch into them and I don't know this song well enough to actually give you it, so... We'll move on swiftly as we get into draft, thankfully. Maokai going to be banned away.
We'll let it go. Nice one, Jake.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jake. Yeah. All right. Well, Kai'Sa's taken off on blue side, Dagda. Sorry, I do talk to myself sometimes. They call me crazy, but that could be.
Yeah, I think the pressure towards bot lane is interesting to me, going from... Oh, sorry, actually, swap sides. Yeah, BDS makes sense.
Yep.
Maybe we actually get the Kai'Sa ban still coming through. Upsiders look great in it, but personally, I think it is the pairing of a Bai and Kai'Sa that have really elevated the Kai'Sa pick for that backline threat. I don't think it's as optimal just by itself. They're going to go with the Nocturne instead, so we're still going to see, like, Ambessa up on the cards. Oh, there it is. Ambessa going to be banned away, though, so... Now, question marks as to what you want to try and lock in. Sejuani could be an option if you want to for 1-1-3, just get that safety in the jungle.
Love it. I was going to say the Sejuani, or maybe a setup for the Viego draft where we get something bursty in mid or top again. You know, we talked a little bit about Rumble last game. Rumble, another opportunity there as well. As this, with teams like JDG and the top LPL teams, they would often be playing these poke drafts with Nidalee. For BDS, this puts precedence on 1-1-3. And in Europe, I gotta say, it's a lot riskier here as a quick response from Fnatic.
Wow, Rumble Sejuani almost immediately taken. So I imagine you get something like the Jayce can go well into the Rumble in that top side. Just look to try and push him in those early stages. And then Ezreal could also be the next answer here. Oh, sorry, actually Ezreal was taken away in the last one. So maybe you're looking at...
Jayce is up.
Yeah, I think the Jayce is just a great call here. And then I'm curious as to what you want to try and take in the mid lane. Maybe Victor or something for that zone control, or Galio.
Do you think you want mid here? Or yeah, Galio is a really nice call to the match as well. Also Leona for long range setup for the Nidalee as well.
So I like the Galio because you can actually put the Galio top if you want to. You already can send the Jayce mid for Nuke. Nuke has had some great games on the Jayce thus far. It's actually his most played champion at 3. They're actually going to take the Rell. Okay, I wasn't sure if they'd opt in towards something like the Braum in the support role instead. So you kind of leave open the Rell or these big engaged supports, so then you can opt in towards the Braum in this next rotation. But Humanoid, we were calling for it in the last game. Looks like he is going to go towards the Yone, that AD mid this time around.
It's such an easy comp for Fnatic as well. Put down the carpet and they will come. You know, like, it's crazy. Like the Red Sea, Dagda.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to depart from Kai'Sa in this one as well if you're BDS, because this is actually where you can get a ton of value out of it. The ability to synchronize with the dive of a Yone or even the ultimate coming through from Sejuani really makes it quite tough. And the opportunity to go into something like an Analyst or something along those lines for Mikyx is still quite high. So you have a lot of dive, and it's going to be on BDS to be very careful how they're setting up.
Varus taken away as well. As you said, I mean, it's part of the poke taken through. I love the Varus ban here. In the East, it's usually the pairing that goes best here with the Nidalee. Dagda, you want to quickly talk about 80 carries that would go well with this draft on BDS side? Is there anything spark in your mind now that Ezreal gone, Varus is gone, Zaya's gone, Corki's gone? Anything else hit?
The Misfortune is probably the one that stands out to me. Is you can try and play for range, you can have that slow, you can try and have a little bit of poke that can come in as well, but I'm not entirely certain because Varus is kind of the standout poke on the opposite side, unless you want to opt in towards something like Ashe for Ice here, but it's not something we've seen a huge amount of in Europe.
Jaxban goes away from the Rumble, which has actually been a bit of a skill matchup, but irrelevant again. I think you were mentioning in game 1, it's just a him champion, one of his most played. Are we getting into Nah territory? What else set up? How do we feel? How do we feel about another AD mid laner here for Nuke? And again, you know, I know that Jayce can be flexed.
I think if it's... What I'd do here is flex the Jayce to mid. I'd take the Galio in for the top for relevant if he's willing to play it.
Okay.
And then as you get Fnatic jumping in, that's where you get the value from the Galio. There's the Kai'Sa we were talking about for Fnatic. And then I'm just unsure as to what Ice does actually play on the opposite side. Again, maybe it is just the Misfortune and say, look, we've got at least a duo we can play heavily for kill lane and bot lane.
What do you think of Ziggs? What do you think of Ziggs? Is it a nightmare versus this dive comp? It sounds like a nightmare.
It's not the end of the world. Like, you do have at least the opportunity to try and play it back with the satchel and those kind of things, but it's... And you do... I think the problem is trying to actually set up for that poke is going to be a little bit more difficult if you have Ziggs. I like... The reason I was kind of saying MF for the Ashe is you kind of control a lot of zone, or you can actually play another engage tool, but they've now added the Ornn into that top side for irrelevant, so you kind of have your engage.
Yep. Engage is nice. Long range engage with the Ornn there as well.
Because I don't think Zeri really fits here because you're not really playing for that. So I think it has to be the MF or...
I like your suggestions. Just throwing things out there. I feel like, you know, my suggestion was a bit crazy. You said Zeri, and that gets locked in, okay. So not more range, not more poke, but instead something that has scaling with the Ornn as well.
Yeah, so the reason I wasn't the biggest fan of Zeri is, yes, she does have that W, which can provide some poke, but she doesn't have a huge amount of tools to enable her in a team fight, because by the time you've already gone in, the poke is landed and the fight is kind of already done. You would have liked something that had the opportunity to play at range and have some impact as you're looking for that poke, but if you are reliant on Ice on this area in fights, at least you do have the heal from the Nidalee to enable that like extra movement speed and stuff, which the Zeri really likes. So it's not the end of the world, but on the upside for Fnatic, like, this is perfect. You've got the opportunity to go for this big dive, then you've got the Galio who can come over the top. Like, you're in a phenomenal position here with the dive.
Okay, well, looking forward to the Galio that gets supported here as Dagda, it's hyping me up, hearing our own voices in our ears. There must be something special going on. The Galio all-in for Mikyx to see Fnatic can 2-0 this. I like that BDS is throwing a spanner into the works. I like that there's, you know, an attempt at what I would call a very difficult draft to transition and get that Zeri to scaling, but also for the range that comes through from 113 nuke.
Yeah, and I do like the Galio. We've seen Mikyx pick it up before into the Rell matchup specifically, and the idea is that you can use that Justice Punch, the E, not Justice Punch, is it the E? Justice Punch?
Justice Punch is the E.
So basically, as Rell goes for the crash down, if you use the Justice Punch in the same direction that she's going, you can interrupt her before she gets the crash down, and then you're able to use the W, look for that big AoE taunt, and you can actually win out in the matchup. Plus, when you end up working then towards the team fights, Rell can never engage, because at any point in time, you can have that ultimate come down from the Galio. So Rell always ends up playing on the defensive footing in this matchup. So it's where Mikyx has kind of found this niche for the Galio, specifically into the Rell.
Shout out to Jonas. Happy birthday. Hell yeah. Game 2 of Fnatic. Maybe that's the present you deserve. As we get in, all we need to know is that BDS are fighting against elimination. Why do I say we? Well, because you and I need to know together. We are knowledgeable. And in that, we stand tall. Dagda, it's been a crazy week. You know why? Do you know why?
Why?
Because LEC is coming to an end already. We're getting there, aren't we?
One more week.
Next week is finals, and that's it. Like, and you know, today LCK finals happened. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. LCK finals happened. LPL's.
You know what? I will spoil it for them. An LCK team won.
Oi. Yeah. There's someone going to first stand. Don't open Twitter. As you know, LCP finished as well. They got their finalists. They got their first stand contender. Here in, actually I think NA's finishing today as well, something as well.
Potentially. Is it? I know TL won yesterday, but I wasn't sure if it was.
I'm sorry, I don't really keep up with tier 2 regions, you know. Yeah! You know what? Yeah, I said it. You know what? Go clip that. Go send it to someone American. That jacket has changed you, man. I feel confident now. Okay, well, take that. We will win as LEC stands proud. We're still trying to define who is our best team, and I guess that's the conversation I want to start here, is that, like, a lot of people came into the split, and I've repeated this over and over with how strong Fnatic look and how people thought, as standard lanes, by the way, are ensuing, is that Fnatic were meant to be the best team, because we looked at their roster, we're like, yo, Upset Mickey is an insane duo, and plus Razork Humanoid is still there, and Oscarinin is like this, like, good setting stone for the team. There's been some ups and downs, but I got really excited for the 2v2 as it developed over week 2, week 3, and how good we were, you know, they were looking coming in. Game 1 wasn't really all that jazz, was it?
Now, I think there's still some issues on Fnatic when it comes towards how they try and play it through side lanes, and they still kind of fall into a lot of the same traps we saw from last year. Like, adding Mikyx in has definitely changed that to a certain extent, but G2 were able to exploit it well, and I think that's where Fnatic need to kind of keep their eyes on, is how well are we operating in the mid game and not trying to find these moments where we overextend with Mikyx or we overextend in the side lane with Humanoid, and you know, BDS can capitalize on it like in game 1. So this is where Fnatic can get rolling in the early stages. I feel much more comfortable and confident in them, because they are definitely a team that when they get ahead, just grab the bulls by the horn and immediately run through that nexus.
On the side, I mean, BDS are a team that are cool, calm, collected, I feel like. Early game, last game, set up a lead, slowly transitioned it, but a couple of mistakes last game. If you missed out, BDS had that game in the palm of their hands.
And that's kind of been the story of BDS, unfortunately, is that they do end up, like, they've never struggled as such to get leads. It's been taking those leads and actually closing out cleanly with them, or having a clean mid game, and that's unfortunate where they fell apart in that last game as well.
And even, not even just in the last game, but overall in series, if you remember, just going back to 2024, when it hit hard, Fnatic kind of had their number a bit as well. Close series where you can see spring season finals back in 2023. But in 2024, they sealed the deal, and again, showing that Fnatic was the second fiddle to G2 in the end, as usual. Yeah,
which is unfortunate, because that's when Fnatic looked the strongest, and Fnatic looking very strong in this one.
They are indeed. Mikyx just going to punch away, and Parus disengages. But now, 113 in a bit of trouble as Razork tries to set up, and with Humanoid, this 2v2 can be quite strong with infinite permafrost, as Nuke has just been poked out, and Humanoid getting a bit of attention from his jungle.
Yeah, 113 just trying to be a nuisance, using that red buff to slow Humanoid so he can consistently get those auto attacks, but they're just going to try and contest for the topside scuttle. Okay.
Just a punch. Okay, Parus can't move. Winds of War. does not become a kill. Parus gets on out, but now no summon is available after Mikyx uses all of his.
Also means that Ice is going to be a little bit vulnerable underneath this tower by himself. Parus needs to get back ASAP. Humanoid going aggressive as 113 is in the lane, but should be completely fine. So on the opposite side, Razork managing to get both scuttles actually puts him in a relatively nice lead when it comes towards the CS. He's now going to move back out towards his top side, looking for those Krugs just to round out, finishing off his camps. But I wonder then if he is going to look for some sort of play on the top side. Oscarinin has his freeze here, so he may look for the play as Irrelevant tries to break the freeze.
It's a pain though, as Irrelevant on this Ornn, almost level 6 by the way. And especially with Grubs being an important objective top side of the map, that's going to come into play a lot here. As BDS really talked about a lot of poke in this comp as well. Parus already starting to move as well.
Just trying to cover in the mid lane, so basically nuke. At this stage, all you want to do is push in this wave, get a couple of chip shots onto the tower and play for turret plates. So Parus just moving mid to cover Mikyx in case he tried to, well, get his a play happen in the mid lane on towards nuke. But looks like at the moment, both junglers now moving back down towards this bottom side. Razork didn't end up going for a play on towards Irrelevant, especially as 6 is about to be hit for Irrelevant. I think now the Ornn is way more safe in this top side matchup.
Very, very true. And look, you know, despite the setup of the freeze before, Irrelevant in a pretty decent spot running into this. But Oscarinin, again, wave in a pretty good state. Irrelevant has to walk up. Oscarinin now has his ultimate available. And Irrelevant's just going to have to farm with Q.
Yeah, I think the
6.
Oscarinin has found a really good time for this freeze, because traditionally 113 would like to try and go for invades, but you don't actually have that top side that is available for 113 to try and go for an invade on off of Nuke's push and now Irrelevant's push. So with Fnatic now trading towards Dragon as well, Ice does need to be a little careful.
X-Flash, yeah, because Mikyx just goes over the wall, parachutes everything before. He's interrupted mid-jump, by the way, and Razork makes sure the deal is sealed. First blood over to Upset, always good news as he flushes away the spear. Just on the tippy tip, was almost on his pinky toe, but 113 is unable to connect.
Yeah, Upset kind of pulling himself out of that just barely. That could have been a disaster. 113 could have flashed after him, looked for the kill, but it's just a nice gank. Basically, Razork saying, hey, look, you can have your boy Grubs if you want to. I'm making this play on bottom side, and we know you have no flash in that support.
And when I see Upset with an early lead, I see a Fnatic that can thrive as well. Let's not forget, almost 10 KDA in the regular season for Fnatic's AD carry on this certain pick. He has not died in playoffs so far on this certain pick as Humanoid. Close to dying on this certain pick. BDS now have priority through mid that they can walk up to Grub. So there is good news for BDS as we look towards the other side of the map.
Yeah, Relevant is on this top end. Oscarinin is TP to the bottom side. So basically BDS are saying, hey, look, we will just look to use this numbers advantage to try and get the objective. Mikyx going to pop in and see if they're doing it, but it just opens up Oscarinin to hard push on the bottom side. Maybe get a turret plate for himself because Irrelevant is in here. No way he got that.
Took that with 9 HP, I think. Winds of War, Mikyx.
I was wondering if Razork just wanted to walk in and try and smite the other one. He actually ended up with a lead, but
No.
Nice effort. But look at the bottom side, right? Now you've got Ice who's trying to push in onto the bottom to answer Oscarinin, but I think he should have got a plate off the back of that. So Fnatic, I mean, 2 for 1 in Grubs, and you get the plate. You're pretty happy with that.
Now definitely cheering. Nuke needs something in mid lane, so obviously pushing the pressure onto Humanoid. Is Jayce feeling good as a tier is slowly stacking up as Ice and Oscarinin facing off against each other in this lane for the time being, but it's going to be a bit of help. Parus looking with his full engages. Ice has already crashed down. Oscarinin going to lay down the equalizer, but it's behind him. Oscar flashes away, but is he really going to get away? Ice gets the slow under turret. It's dangerous. Ice looking for the bounce, but he won't find it. Meanwhile, Upset just gets bopped by Irrelevant. BDS on both sides of the map have found power as Nuke died to Razork, it seems like, so that duo is off to the punch.
So Oscarinin barely able to escape on that bottom side. Top side, Upset ends up getting hit by the Ram Jam, and Irrelevant able to finish him off. And then in mid lane, Razork says, you know what, I like a gank as well. So there's action in every lane, but it is actually BDS who, at least with the kill for kill, and I believe getting some pressure on that bottom side turret, will actually come out on top. But you can see here, Relevant opens up with the Ornn ultimate, immediately picks off Upset, who doesn't have that flash. And then it's just an easy setup for 113 with the spear to finish off the Kai'Sa.
That's nice. Kill also goes to Irrelevant, which has got to feel good to alleviate pressure. That's Nuke who got solo killed. That's a totally different matter. Some would say that's Irrelevant as kill went over to Razork in jungle, but again, more help for Humanoid in his lane. It's such an abusive duo. Sejuani and Yone right now are the flavor of like Game 2's Game 3 and Fearless. again, across the world. Just so strong in the dueling Dagda, and especially when that Bladed Ruin King comes through, Humanoid is going to be a menace.
Especially when you have Mikyx, who can always play towards sides with the Galio ultimate. And this is kind of the big win when you have this Galio, because traditionally, or Galio support, because traditionally you need him in side lanes, which means he only ever has access to mid lane. But because you're playing the Galio in the support role, you shove in mid and you can always lean to either side, making it impossible for BDS to actually try and play through those side lanes, making Humanoid and Oscarinin, who have these little leads for themselves, even more threatening when we get to a 1-3-1 position.
What we do as well, I mean, who's going to stop him? That's my biggest question. Someone like Humanoid, his first item comes through to Razork thanks to the small gold lead. This Nidalee are not off to the races. And as you always want to see, 1-1-3 needs to get himself an early start in this game and really start snowballing so that poke can be more meaningful. Humanoid, good buffer there from the Searing Charge. Love seeing Ornn back in the meta. He's a
fun champ.
He's a tank, but he's not really. He's not like a hard tank, you know what I mean? But he is.
I don't know the copy pasta off. I don't.
What,
you know, the tank assassin mage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All I remember is about an ode to the Shy who got eliminated today. He's out for a couple of months as IG got beat by Top Esports. His Ornn with Doran's Blade start. That's the biggest chat Ornn I've ever seen. And now I compare everyone to that. It didn't go well. I think he went 0-9 that game.
Yeah, no, it was not a good time.
But D-Blade Ornn, oh, you better believe I'm excited about that. Just like I'm excited about this gank from Razork, who's going to send it with the Glacial Prison. Nuke has backup. 1-1-3's there. 1-1-3's like, hang on. Where is that flying pig?
And I think that's the thing I've been most impressed with 1-1-3 is in playoffs. He's been really good at reading what the enemy jungler wants to do and being in a position to counteract it. We got it last game for where he played the gank onto Razork, and now he's looking towards that mid lane again, always just making sure those lanes are safe and shadowing them so well.
Nuke doing that for a little bit of help from Irrelevant as well. Razork was thinking about an angle. As Relevant's getting a little bit low. Humanoid has that ult back up and available again. You can see that Razork and Humanoid are sinking quite a lot this game. That's what I kind of remember about the strength of 2024 from Fnatic as well. We talked a lot about Humanoid and Razork together and how their pairing is. This game, the champions enable it so. But Oscarinin doesn't have any friends this game because 1-1-3 is going to make it so that he's going to feel the pain. Call the Fortune and boop! Right on the nose there. Oscarinin has nowhere to go, so he's going to equalize the wave and give 1-1-3 a kill in the end.
So we'll end up getting the majority of the wave, but yeah, just the majority of Fnatic were playing towards those Void Grubs. Oscarinin tries to shove in that wave that bit too far, and again, Irrelevant, great setup for 1-1-3. So we'll be Fnatic getting the objective, but a bit more pressure on the map for BDS.
This Razork getting the grubs here, though. That's big. 4 grubs going to be taken as a no contest at the cost of the kill. Grubs in this game, when you just talked about side laning for Humanoid, is a very, very big note that Yone is going to love. As Mikyx trying to zone off while Parus looks for engage off the back, but an Arctic Assault will get Razork out, but maybe he wants to go in. Mikyx with a shield of Duran, he's pounced on, he's flashed on. 1-1-3 is sent up, not sent packing. Mikyx dies in the end. Shock blast flashed away from this time as Razork has run out of steam and BDS know it so. Into the enemy red, 1-1-3 now looking to see what he can take here. Is this Nidalee has now just picked up 2 kills in a matter of 2 minutes.
And now it might be Humanoid who's in trouble, trying to go aggressive on towards Nuke, but Nuke knows that they can look for the dive after this. 1-1-3 just needs to keep Humanoid underneath the tower. Mikyx on his way, ultimate available.
You're going to play dodgeball here. 1 from Nuke, 1 from 1-1-3. They back off and the game is now over. Humanoid just accepts the wave handedly. Nuke is also running out of mana. So BDS here in this early game yet again. They might not have the gold lead, but they're in a good position, Dagda, now that one of their core pieces is doing quite well.
Yeah, exactly. 1-1-3 in a good spot, but we have seen throughout the LEC this split that we've got Nidalees with leads. We haven't got a lot of Nidalees with wins. So from this position, BDS do need to try and set up on towards these objectives. Again, it is kind of a similar story where it's we want to look onto the objective early, play for poke. Once that poke lands, look for the big engages with Irrelevant to Parus. It's a little bit easier to work with this time around because they haven't gone for a huge amount of poke or an overbearing amount of poke in the composition, but you still do have to be careful as to how you operate, because again, Humanoid looking for a flank, Oscarinin with a good ultimate, with Mikyx able to follow up, it could be lights out for BDS, so slow and steady here if you want to try and play it through for BDS.
If you want that win rate, Dagda, it is 1-5 in the regular season that we had LEC Winter Junglers falling off a little bit, and we have not seen it in playoffs so far. So
yeah, and I mean, to be fair, that one win, one of them, or the one was 1-1-3. So Oh, here we go. Hang on,
It was
Mikyx.
indeed. He's 50-50 as Mikyx might not be. He's between enemy lines. He's just trying to open up while Fnatic hit the turret, but with Relevant does good damage. However, with Razork in the way, he's scared. 113 needs to back him up as, I mean, Fnatic have just completely committed to this turret and will find it first before you get solo turret top.
Yeah, Mikyx didn't quite get the taunt off to interrupt the follow-up on the Ornn ultimate, but still, Nuke able to trade effectively on the opposite side. So for BDS, it's not the end of the world. You're still getting the wave, as is Ornn as well. Dragon is the next question as Razork dodges the spear.
But the trap as well, a little bit late. Good ultimate to stop that engage from happening any further. Mikyx might be in trouble though, thanks to his jungle, but a shield of Duran gets a cleanse away. However, with the ulti out, Ice is now chasing and finding a shutdown. Upset has to walk on in, but now he has to walk out somehow. But how does he do it? Irrelevant under turret. Upset with a great ulti. Disengage from Mikyx. Under turret, the Fate Sealed hits max range onto Irrelevant, but a Magnet Storm holds him back. We're getting dicey, but not so slicey here. BDS walk on out. No one else dies apart from Razork.
Well played by Upset to dodge around, using the killer instinct to get to safety, but I think for Humanoid, he wasn't hoping for Irrelevant. He wished he'd caught onto 113 underneath the tower, but the Ornn, that bit too tanky for him. So BDS will get the Dragon off the back of the play.
Just look at that camera angle. That tells you BDS mean big business. Or that 113 is a Canyon stan. I don't know which one.
Why not both? They can be both.
It can be both. I believe that's Canyon. Yeah, it is Canyon. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
But again, it's just kind of like little mistakes from Fnatic. Razork didn't need to be there. Clearly the rest of Fnatic were backing. I know you've got Mikyx who had to invest his ultimate and a lot of spells as well. Upside now down a flash just because of that little whoopsie. So, and BDS also get the Dragon. So it's again, Fnatic just kind of having these little mistakes that are coming back to bite them, and BDS are capitalizing on it well.
Maybe not. 113, you might have to get over the wall quicker, or rather sooner than later. Humanoid just going to take from under his nose the Scuttle Crab. No more future for that little guy as he gets taken. BDS move back to mid.
Because I wasn't entirely sure, because you could see where Nuke was on the map. He'd actually drifted down from topside, now he's showing his face in mid, because they wanted to try and put some pressure here for the Rift Herald that's up and available, but didn't want to overcommit. Now Irrelevant doesn't have TP, Humanoid does. This is a bit of a risky take for BDS.
Ice is zoning. The risky take means that they have to be quick about it than Dagda as 113 needs to expose the Iron down to 5k. Fnatic moving ever so slightly as Oscarinin with his ult available, but I'm seeing an Ornn not there. I'm seeing a TP and Oscarinin that doesn't want to be committed. I see a BDS that'll take their Herald with Fnatic only soft contesting.
Yeah, the Ornn was a bit slow, wasn't showing on that bottom wave, which is why Fnatic were unsure as to how they wanted to try and progress it. And it was only when he actually showed on towards that ward that's just off of Raptors that they actually felt comfortable to try and put Humanoid back in that bot side. So nicely played by BDS, kind of covering both avenues of attack from Fnatic, but now Ice.
He's in trouble. Razork with a great ulti, and Upset ultis in immediately to follow. A shutdown unfortunately goes to Razork, but Upset part of it to open up mid lane.
And now you don't have the wave clear, so Fnatic should look to try and take the structure. Parus here with 113, but Nuke on the way. So Fnatic all just back off. Again, this Nuke, like in a side lane, is getting a ton of pressure, just being able to drift off into the fog of war and put some manners onto Fnatic.
Yeah, that Jayce still trailing behind in goal, but it's not about that, is it? That Shojin is obviously doing work here, is against Oscarinin, and he pays respect. Oscar doesn't get to just shred through with Leandries into an Ornn. I'm sure that's what he really wants. But you don't always get what you want in life. Mick Jagger told me that. Irrelevant.
Personally?
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, yeah, you know me. I got the connections. Yeah.
Your dad's a musician, right? So, you know.
The leader of the Rolling Stones told me something personally. Who do you think I am, like Bono? No, I'm not like that. I can't do the accent. That wasn't.
You know what? I would have appreciated it if you tried anyway, you know? But if don't, we're going to move on.
Okay.
I saw you take that breath. I was like, no.
How do I approach this one? I'm very good at accents if you've been shooting you with the broadcast all over the splitters. This flank from Mikyx. It's going to show me how much better it could be, isn't it? Humanoid sets up. He wants the all-in, but doesn't find it. Instead, the damage from 113 is immense. That Nidalee poke and followed up by Ice. And Humanoid can't press a button.
I don't think they want to, though. I think Fnatic are happy to just defend. They get the top side tower. Now, it will be answered, it looks like, by Irrelevant in that bottom side, but still, you're just happy to take the trade. Irrelevant doesn't actually get the turret. And now it's Humanoid who TPs... Oh, is it Oscarinin? No, sorry, Humanoid, yeah, who TPs down to try and hold on to it as Oscarinin goes for the reset. So, again, you kind of hold on to your structures, which is the more important part. And now in a minute and a half, you can actually look for a big fight as Fnatic towards those dragons, where you've got both side waves pushed in fully.
Ooh. I want to add a side note. Bloodletter's Curse has just been picked up here by the Rumble. If you don't know what this item does, more and more people are starting to pick it up. Things like Wei with, you know, AP comps. But a lot of magic resist shredding. That's the core of it as well. So good even for the Sejuani, good for the Galio, and good for the Kai'Sa once she has her inherent on-hit AP, as well as a W as well.
Yeah, it's also the 350 health that you get just makes you that little bit more tanky on the front line, which is also the big benefit, because especially when you're playing against the Ornn, and also this kind of opportunity to look for big engages, having that little bit more tankiness is going to be great for Oscarinin.
Great point. In the 1v1, didn't even think about the extent of how much it does to just shred down Ornn. I do like when we start experimenting with new items. I wonder how, you know, we get the full analysis of it. Is it worth it? Is the shopkeeper robbing us blind or not? Always like those discussions, but then I fall asleep after 10 minutes of people doing stats and math, and I think yes, it's actually 115% more effective than this item. You know, League of Legends is about the spirit and the
sometimes
soul.
you just need the TL didn't watch, you know?
That's right. Sometimes I just want, does it feel good or not? You know, that's what League of Legends is all about, the feeling. Sometimes playing solo queue doesn't feel good, so you stop.
It's only when you lose several in a row.
That's right. When I was on my 12 loss streak, it happened, right? It happens to the best of us. Or the worst. But it happens. Don't you worry. And when you get past that, you think, hey, look at these guys playing it as well. Surely they've been through that to get to this point, to be on an elimination day, to be faced with hard choices like, do we do Atakan? Do we go down for Dragon, which is only second Dragon for either of us? How do we find our picks? How do we land our spears? A lot of questions right now in BDS's head, I'm sure. Yeah,
the biggest question is in Fnatic's as to how the hell do we actually try and set up the map so Atakan doesn't get taken while we're doing Dragon. The answer, it seems like, is Humanoid, but Fnatic have reset, which means that BDS, in theory, could call the bluff and just immediately go for it. Razork's still in the area. You see, he wanted to reset, but really doesn't want BDS in this area when he goes for it.
1-3 is landing spears. Razork takes one, but not the other. Good dive or dodge from Oscarinin. Dragon goes down thanks to Humanoid's solo efforts, and BDS now have that information, but no act first, because remember, upset's coming up. Ornn's not there. Ice is not there either. So BDS don't have all their members, but now they do, and now it begins.
And Humanoid doesn't have the TP, so he's going to have to walk up. Fnatic need to discover that this is actually being taken first. Mikyx, with that, should know that that they're on it, but I don't think Fnatic are here quick enough, maybe.
It's a question. Oscarinin might have to lay down the ulti, but 4K, they're going to pull a choice, and they're going to pull it out of the bag quick as Mikyx gets the shield of Durand, and Atakan now going to be taken, so they have GAs. The all-in engager call the Forge God. Mikyx's ult is a hero's entrance, but it might be an X of a Humanoid. Brings them together, but there's no clump for the damage. Ice is firing away, electrocuting. It's like we're playing Quidditch, and Harry's just letting loose. Ice doesn't care, goes over the wall, withdraws for now, but not for long. A spear over, Oscarinin burning, 1-1-3 with another one, and Oscar keeps dodging away. But that's still worth for BDS. They'll just respawn.
That's the thing. BDS gets to come back onto the map, and Nuke immediately TPs the bot lane to get that turret. And you can see here, Fnatic just not in the area fast enough. Humanoid is still trying to make his way after he's taking the Raptors. The savior here is, I'm trying to see what connected, relevant. Oh, is the ultimate coming through from Razork. Clutch in that moment means that Irrelevant actually can't get the follow-up on the Ornn ultimate, because you can see how low the health bar is here. That CC would have been enough for Ice to go absolutely mental. At this stage, he's only semi-lunatic as he finishes off so many members of Fnatic.
Only a semi-lunatic. We love those. Just on the border of insanity, but enough to say their own name. Well, BDS, I mean, as they pick up those kills, more gold in their back pocket, and it means they're set up for the Dragon, or rather, for this push towards mid that's been sitting there. I was thinking, why are we bot side? Well, it's because mid turret Dagda, and BDS want to use their pressure to its full extent and open up mid finally.
They managed to get that mid lane turret. Both side laners for Fnatic off of vision though, which is why BDS starting to fall back, trying to play it a little bit safer. But again, the objective control for BDS around that Atakan has been great, and now they'll just get to reap the rewards where they continue to push in, keep Fnatic at bay. But they're not quite out of the woodwork yet. Again, you kind of need to find more and more of these objective fights to snowball this as BDS, but from the position that Fnatic are in with 2 dragons already, I think they just play to avoid dragons and actually look for, you know, mid lane turrets, top lane tier 2, constantly play away from the objective that's on the map.
1:15 to Baron. Everyone keep your voices down. This is a moment that needs no introduction. A moment that tells us that Baron is going to define this series. BDS, they couldn't walk it to the door in game 1. Now we're asking, can they at least deliver the package and press the doorbell and run? Now, I'm not sure what that implies. That maybe means getting the Baron and getting out, you know what I mean?
I'm really glad you said this needs no introduction and then went for the most convoluted metaphor you could possibly think of that now needs to be explained.
There was no introduction, but there was a middle and an end.
And it turns out we needed the introduction.
We needed the introduction there. Look, I've said it a million times. Kai'Sa's always in your ear. Sometimes we yap. Sometimes. It's definitely not me. And when we do, we tell you little things about like what this means to the players, why this is important. BDS, a roster that has, you know, Ice, who was like one of the best team fighting AD carries last year. Nuke, who I think has been one of the most solid players. He came on the desk with us as well, and you could see his love of the game and his inspiration of the game is huge. Irrelevant, who I think was one of the best top laners last year as well that BDS took for their own away from SK. There's so much good about BDS here, and the fact that they're fighting for their lives. It tells you a very different story to what the highlight was last year.
And I think it'd be disappointment for BDS if they don't make it to that point. I mean, third has kind of been their home in the LEC for a long time. They were the gatekeepers to be the top teams, finished in 7th, and now potentially going out in round 2. Unfortunately, pulling Fnatic was not exactly what they're hoping for, but it hasn't been as strong as for BDS. There's been individual highlights of points, but the team needs to come together now and try and get this across the line.
113 predicted the Justice Punch. Small things like that give you a little bit of hope that they can do it and they can get it across the line. Of course, the Fnatic fans, they want to see Fnatic clean this up and move on to a rematch, to a potential setup.
So they're playing for the TP on Oscarinin. Fnatic aware that more than likely this is going down. They're going to put a ward into the pit now in just a moment and know for definite. But the engage could come through. BDS pulling off. There's the TP.
Spear hurts a little bit. BDS pulling off for now. Again, they leave it at the door. They press the doorbell and they've left. Fnatic, as they answer it, take a little bit of poke as well. BDS' setup is good, but now Dragon is there and BDS want to make sure Fnatic don't move to Salt Point.
Yeah, the problem is that in answering the door, Fnatic's built their cup of TP, so they won't have that available now as they start to go for the Dragon as well. So now it's Humanoid who has to play away from the objective on that top half of the map, and BDS get another Dragon for themselves. In theory, Fnatic would have liked to have been able to play with multiple members on that mid lane, rotate from mid lane third take into top lane tier 2 take as BDS go for this Dragon, but because BDS got that teleport out from Oscarinin, now it's a TP behind a Humanoid for BDS.
That ward, as Humanoid was taking the Gromp, he's in full vision. Ice sees him, or Nuke does rather, and Humanoid tries to ulti out, but he's blocked. In front of the Baron, they found a pick, they found the core member, and Fnatic are now stuck in a 4 versus 5.
Humanoid has been picked so often on the side lanes in this series. Can this be the one that actually gets BDS a win?
Parus might need to turn for the engage at 7k. BDS think about how they're going to flip this one, but should they really? With Razork in the way, no. They turn for the fight, and Mikyx is the start of it, but maybe the end. Upset, flashes away. He's out of dodge while Fnatic try to poke and prod and get in the way of BDS taking this objective while Razork over the wall wants a steal. He pops the ulti, he lets them know he's there, but at 2.5k, Magnet Storm and no chance of a steal. BDS, hearts are still beating, blood still flowing, Ice is still flying, but Upset tries to take him out with his dying breath, but Avada Kedavra, 113, takes him out with a swift blow.
And it's just like that, BDS, they take control, the Baron in their sights, and it's just picking Humanoid. It's a great TP, but Humanoid had no right to be here. Fnatic had reset, they stand in front of the ultimate so Yone can't escape, and then as this goes through, Parus ends up playing to keep them out of the pit. But even the engage on towards Razork as he tries to get in is perfect. He stuns Mikyx, they pick off Mikyx, the ultimate gets the flash from Upset, from Irrelevant, and then watch here, Parus just ends up waiting for Razork to try and come over the wall. There's no real threat. Upset has to play way too far up if he wants to be meaningful. And it's just the engage on towards Razork, hit the blast cone to send him back into the pit. And they're able to finish off, well, what could have been Razork, but instead it's actually Upset. In attempting to kill Ice, actually gives him his life himself.
Brilliant from BDS. It was controlled, it was calm, and Baron now with almost a 3k input that it's given them. BDS last game, Baron as well, but they couldn't finish the game. In front of the tier 3 turret in the bot side as they were on the opposite side in colors, and they couldn't finish the game. BDS need to chunk this gold, and make it a massive storm of a lead and get this one across the line and get us into a game 3.
Humanoid pushing in the top side will be responded by Irrelevant. Has the TP to kind of try and come through, but those spears, that poke, starting to hurt. And now BDS just off of that, they're going to be able to take this turret again. Like, this is a composition from Fnatic that works well when ahead, but works terribly when they're trying to wave clear with short range basically across the board.
Who knew 113 was the answer? Finn did. Finn did. Oh my lord. I think a TP burnt there. Humanoid was caught out. He had to TP out because BDS saw him again. The vision line from BDS has given them a lot of options and information in this game that is leading to big advantages.
113 just going to fish again. 113 reasons that Fnatic have to dodge everything that's going into these bushes. As Fnatic start to move up towards this top half again. I don't know how you hold this Baron buff poke, and you're so short range as Fnatic. This is horrible.
Again, this is why poke cops around the world are working out as that engage is clean as well. Call the Forge God doesn't land though, and Mikyx now has an angle. Shielded around is good as Humanoid takes down Parus, but Fnatic are still getting poked and prodded and taken with ice rolling through. Best team fight ending carried last year, and you're now seeing the pieces work its way back. Fnatic thought they could steamroll BDS, but BDS say no.
Fnatic knew it was going to be a long, slow, drawn-out siege, and they decided to try and end it instead. BDS happy to take this game and push us to game number 3.
And with this game 3, so many more questions arise as 113 once again shows us why this guy has been hyped up by none other than Finn, the top laner himself.
Fantastic stuff from BDS. Fnatic heads gone down, but we're going to kick it over to a quick break, but when we be back, it'll be the desk there to break it on down.
Oh, hell yeah.
Damn it. Hey Dragos, you ready for the... Oh, that doesn't look good. Wait, I have a solution, but you have a break. I will be right back. Just wait.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
See? I told you we'd figure it out.
I don't think this counts.
Come on, let's go.
Red Bull gives you wings.